Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. ISRO launches SpaDeX mission. Successful separation of satellite marks another milestone in India's space journey. South Korean court approves arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon, facing a criminal investigation into possible insurrection charges. US Treasury Department has accused Chinese state-sponsored actor for a cyber breach earlier this month. Emotional homecoming for several ahead of New Year's Eve as Russia and Ukraine swap hundreds of prisoners in the UAE brokered deal. Five years on, World Health Organization implores China to share data on COVID origins, calls it a moral and scientific impairment. And the world enters final stage preparation to ring in New Year 2025 with cheer and festivity. A South Korean court has issued an arrest warrant for impeached, suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol. Yoon has been impeached and suspended from power over his decision to impose martial law on December 3rd. He is facing a criminal investigation into possible insurrection charges, while the ruling party interim leader said that attempting to detain a sitting president is not appropriate. Now, this is the first ever arrest warrant issued for an incumbent president in South Korea. On Monday, South Korean investigators sought an arrest warrant for Yoon over this month's short-lived imposition of martial law. Police have tried but failed to successfully raid the presidential office as part of the investigation. Insurrection is one of the few charges for which a South Korean president does not have immunity. Yoon was suspended from presidential powers after being impeached by Parliament over his decision to briefly impose martial law. Masked martial law troops equipped with rifles, body armor and night vision equipment entered the parliament, where they faced off with staffers who opposed them with fire extinguishers. The decree lasted just hours until the parliament voted it down and Yoon backed down. All right, DD India's Amit Mukherjee joins us with the latest on this. Amit, good morning. Now, we've seen that the already impeached and suspended South Korean president is now facing an arrest warrant. Help us understand, how is the situation unfolding in South Korea? How serious or grave is this? And what options does Yoon have at his hand right now?
Good morning, Preeti. Actually, things are unfolding in a very, very dramatic way as far as South Korea is concerned. Now, one has to understand why this step has been taken by the court of issuing summon, in fact, arrest warrant, because earlier there have been 3 occasions where the court had issued summons to the impeached President Yoon to appear before the prosecution panel to cooperate with the investigation. Now, on all the 3 occasions, Yoon has refused to appear before that. He turned down those summons. The last one being on 29th of December, where he was again asked to cooperate with the prosecutors panel to come and help with the investigations, when he has not done that, following which the office of, the corruption investigation office, which is the CIO, appealed before the court to issue a summon to ensure that, not only to ensure a summon, but also issue arrest warrant so that, Yoon appears before the prosecution panel and answers all the questions which are pending right now, which led to the imposition of this martial law on 3rd of December, which actually saw a lot of turmoil around. I mean, that was the focal point, the tipping point after which, the whole episode of impeachment was kind of, brought into the parliament of South Korea. And finally, we saw President Yoon being impeached. Now, also the other thing is that Yoon's own prosecutors, his own legal team, has been challenging the entire, probe which is going on for the process of insurrection. They're saying that the team which is probing it, which is a composition of law enforcing authorities and defense personnel also. So Yoon's team is questioning the validity of this prosecution panel, which is probing the entire issue of impeachment, and will be eventually submitting its report before the court, after which the court takes a decision whether to kind of finally endorse the impeachment process or not. So number two is that, one, he has not been respecting the summons issued by the court to appear for investigation. Second, his own team is challenging the entire process of the investigation. And also, the defense minister, Kim Yoon, who has been also instrumental in the entire process of the imposition of the martial law, he has now been arrested. Now, basis that, the prosecution is now building up the case, because all the testimony which has now been submitted by the former defense minister, who is now under arrest, he is actually helping in the investigation to build the case against President Yoon. And also a 10-page report that has been submitted by the prosecution panel before the court, following which this the arrest warrants have been issued. That 10-page report clearly mentions how the entire process had unfolded, the process of implementing this martial law, where President Yoon not only ordered, soldiers to be kind of marched along the assembly, and also, in fact, he had issued shooting orders also, if the allegations are to be believed as of now. Preeti?
All right, Amit, now this political turmoil in South Korea will definitely have a bearing on the country, but what repercussions or what fallout will it have on the Korean Peninsula, in the region, because we've seen already the situation is tense in the Korean Peninsula. Will it somehow have a bearing in the region as well?
Well, Preeti, it's a very, very unprecedented situation if you look at the overall, condition of South Korea right now. Because number one, President Yoon will be the first president who has been issued against whom arrest warrants have been issued. Secondly, the tragic plane crash which had just happened, the entire country is in a state of mourning. Third, there has been a power struggle between North Korea and South Korea in this region, and both the countries have their allies fixed. North Korea has very clearly, we see the alignment with Russia. South Korea has been aligned with the West, and of course Russia and the West, they are not on very good terms as of now, as we know from the Ukraine war, what the equation right there is. And another thing is that even the world is looking at the financial market of South Korea. If you look at the Korean the index, which is like the KOSPI,
yes,
it is one of the key indexes which the world looks at every morning, in terms of, analyzing the financial market situation. So, in fact, the caretaker prime minister also, Choi Song-mok, as well as Han Duck-soo, who was again the second, who was the caretaker prime minister who was impeached, they have also been talking about that South Korea is walking on a thin ice right now. And one must also, he had appealed to the opposition not to kind of take this, entire issue of posing and creating a, whatever the situation right now is. So they have been pleading the world, pleading its own leaders, that we must also look at our own, financial institutions, our economy, so that because of this turmoil, it doesn't get hurt. If that happens, that would also have some repercussions at the global level. Preeti?
All right, Amit, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. All right, now turning focus to Israel, a crisis. The Israeli military intercepted a missile launched from Yemen before it crossed into the Israeli territory. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels have been firing missiles and drones at Israel and ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. In recent weeks, they have claimed to have fired several missiles at Israel, triggering retaliatory strikes from Israel, targeting the rebel strategic assets and infrastructure. The Iran-backed Houthis have controlled large parts of Yemen since seizing Sana'a and ousting the government in 2014. They have stepped up their attacks since November ceasefire between Israel and another Iran-backed group, Hezbollah, in Lebanon. While on Monday, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations issued what he called a final warning to the Houthis to halt their missile attacks on Israel, saying they otherwise risked the same miserable fate as Hamas, Hezbollah and Syria's Bashar al-Assad if they persisted. Russia and Ukraine swapped more than 300 prisoners of war on Monday in an exchange brokered by the United Arab Emirates ahead of the New Year's Eve. The Russian Defense Ministry said 150 Russian servicemen were returned from the territory controlled by the Kyiv regime. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv received 189 people as part of the deal, including soldiers, border guards and 2 civilians from the Russian-occupied city of Mariupol. He thanked the United Arab Emirates and other partners for facilitating the swap. Ukraine said that Moscow had released a total of 3,956 people since the start of the conflict. The swap resulted in an emotional homecoming for many prisoners just in time for New Year's Eve. Russia's Human Rights Commissioner stated that the individuals involved in the prisoner swap will be reunited with their relatives and friends, allowing them to celebrate the New Year in their homeland. The U.S. Treasury Department has said that a China state-sponsored hacker broke into the department's systems, accessing employee workstations and also some unclassified documents. The breach occurred in early December and was made public in a letter penned by the Treasury Department to lawmakers notifying them of the incident. The U.S. agency characterized the breach as a major incident. The Treasury contacted the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency after it was alerted by the situation by its provider, Beyond Trust. Along with the FBI, the department has been working with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and third-party forensic investigators to ascertain the impact. Several countries, notably the US, have voiced alarm in recent years at what they say is Chinese government-backed hacking activity targeting their governments, militaries and businesses. Beijing rejected the allegations and has previously said that it opposes and cracks down on all forms of cyber attacks. A U.S. federal appeals court on Monday upheld a jury verdict ordering President-elect Donald Trump to pay $5 million for sexually abusing and defaming writer Jean Carroll. A New York jury found after a 9-day civil trial last year that the former president had sexually abused Carroll at a Manhattan department store in 1996. Trump was ordered to pay $2 million for sexual abuse and another $3 million for defaming the former advice columnist for Elle magazine. Trump denied the allegations and appealed the verdict on grounds that 2 other women who said Trump had sexually assaulted them too should not have been allowed to testify. The 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals disagreed. Carroll was awarded $83 million by another jury in a separate case she brought against Trump. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke with the Venezuelan opposition figure whom Washington says defeated Nicolas Maduro in a widely disputed July presidential election. Blinken conferred with the exiled candidate Edmundo Gonzalez with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado in a show of support. The call comes less than 2 weeks before the next Venezuelan presidential term begins on January 10th. Demonstrations broke out across the country after Maduro was proclaimed the winner of the July 28 election, despite results published by the opposition appearing to show their candidate won by a landslide. The World Health Organization has urged China to share data on the origins of the COVID pandemic. 5 years after the first cases of COVID were reported in the Chinese city of Wuhan, the World Health Organization said it is still waiting for full cooperation from Beijing to clarify the origin of the COVID pandemic. WHO said in a statement that this is a moral and scientific imperative. It further added that the health agency continues to call on China to share data and access so the WHO can understand the origins of COVID-19. The WHO warned that without transparency, sharing and cooperation among countries, the world cannot adequately prevent and prepare for future epidemics and pandemics. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, German Christmas market attack to be completed, assures German Interior Minister. South Korea's acting president pays tribute to plane crash victims in Seoul, orders an emergency safety inspection of the country's entire airline operation system. 5 people charged in connection with One Direction singer Liam Payne's death. The year 2024 was marked by some historic elections across the continents, coupled with global unrest. Beat historic third-term win for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with unprecedented mandate, US President-elect Donald Trump making a spectacular comeback. Curtains down for the year 2024. What an year it was. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you updates on South Korea's worst air disaster now. South Korea's acting president Choi Sang-mok on Tuesday morning paid tributes to victims of the Jeju airplane crash. Choi was accompanied by a group of officials as he laid flowers and bowed to pay respects at the memorial set up in Seoul. The acting South Korean president on Monday ordered an emergency safety inspection of the country's entire airline operation system as investigators worked to identify victims and find out what caused the disaster. Meanwhile, the National Transportation Safety Board of the United States sent investigators, including an accredited representative and investigators with specialities in operational factors and airworthiness, to South Korea to assist with the investigation of December 29 Jeju air accident that left 179 people dead. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for making 2025 a new beginning. In a New Year's message reflecting 2024, he stated that hope had been hard to find. The Secretary General noted that the top 10 hottest years on record have occurred in the past decade.
Countries must put the world on a safer path by dramatically slashing emissions and supporting the transition to a renewable future. It is essential and it is possible.
The Secretary General also concluded by stating that there are no guarantees for what lies ahead in 2025. He pledged to stand with all those working to forge a more peaceful, equal, stable and healthy future for all people.
There are no guarantees for what's ahead in 2025, but I pledge to stand with all those who are working to forge a more peaceful, equal, stable and healthy future for all people. Together we can make 2025 a new beginning, not as a world divided, but as nations united.
Police in Kenya's capital Nairobi have fired tear gas to disperse protesters demonstrating against what they say is a wave of unexplained abductions of government critics. Dozens of Kenyans have been abducted in recent months, according to human rights groups who blame the extrajudicial arrest on Kenya's police and intelligence services. Kenyan authorities have said that the government does not condone or engage in extrajudicial killings or abductions. Some groups of young protesters marched in downtown Nairobi, while others staged a sit-in and chanted slogans against the government. The National Police spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Monday's protests. Trinidad and Tobago has declared a state of emergency in response to a spike in gang violence over the weekend. President Christine Carla issued a declaration on the advice of Prime Minister Keith Rowley, who had been under growing pressure to take action over worsening crime figures. The state of emergency empowers the country's police to arrest people on suspicion of involvement in illegal activities. It will also allow law enforcement to search and enter both public and private premises and suspend bail. A government statement specified that no curfew would be imposed and the freedom to meet publicly or demonstrate in marches would not be impeded. The move comes as Trinidad and Tobago gears up for a general election, which must be held by August 2025. In Ethiopia, at least 71 people died when a truck packed with passengers plunged into a river. The accident occurred in the Bona district. The vehicle, which was travelling through Sidama state on Sunday, fell into the river after it missed a bridge. A local official said that many of the passengers had been guests at a wedding party. Traffic police in the region reported the lorry was overloaded, which was likely to have caused the incident. Further investigations are underway. Deadly traffic accidents are common in Ethiopia, where driving standards are poor and many vehicles badly maintained. At least 38 people, mostly students, were killed in 2018 when a bus plunged into a ravine in Ethiopia's mountainous north. German Interior Minister Nancy Faeser on Monday promised a complete investigation into the Magdeburg Christmas market attack. Faeser, along with security and intelligence chiefs, faced questioning on Monday by a parliamentary committee about the attack that killed 5 people and wounded more than 200, and on whether there had been missed clues and security lapses. Faeser said no motive had yet been established for the December 20th attack in the eastern city of Magdeburg, but there are striking signs of a pathological psyche. Police arrested Saudi psychiatrist Talib al-Abdul Mohsen after the assault that used a motor vehicle as a weapon, a method previously used in jihadist attacks, including in Berlin and the French city of Nice in 2016. A fatal accident in Hong Kong claimed the life of an elderly man and left 3 others injured after a car veered into a pavement in Yau Ma Tei on Monday. The 42-year-old driver, arrested for dangerous driving causing death, claimed that he was unwell. A CCTV camera captured a video showing pedestrians crossing the road when a black private car swerved into the pavement, directly hitting a few passerbys. The front of the car was severely damaged and the authorities used car stoppers to prevent the vehicle from moving forward. Let's get to weather updates from across the world now. Chilean authorities issued a cautionary alert for multiple coastal towns due to abnormal sea swells, urging residents to avoid these areas. As a precaution, access to the coastal route of Vina del Mar was closed. However, some people ignored the warning, venturing to the beach to witness the phenomena and even take selfies. Chilean authorities have predicted that the swells will continue to intensify until Tuesday. Over the weekend, similar unusual swells impacted the coasts of Peru, leading to the closure of 80 ports and several beaches. Meanwhile, a severe hailstorm hit Beruri in Sao Paulo on Monday, blanketing the streets in ice. The hailstorm's intensity led to the collapse of a supermarket roof, injuring 4 people with minor injuries. The Brazilian Meteorological Institute issued an early warning about severe weather conditions affecting the region, forecasting hail and heavy rains. Now, these weather patterns are expected to cause significant disruptions, including risks of power outages and widespread flooding. Afghan women have been systematically stripped of their economic independence under Taliban rule. They have been forced out of public administration roles. Their presence in the private sector has been drastically reduced, and many women-owned businesses have forcibly closed. In the latest order, Taliban imposed new restrictions banning windows that overlook areas where women carry out domestic chores. They also threatened to close all national and foreign non-governmental groups in Afghanistan employing women. Fuzail Ahmed gets us more.
Atrocities against women in Afghanistan is increasing with every passing day. First, they were made speechless and then faceless. Taliban has banned windows that overlook areas where women work, be it kitchen, living room, or just a refreshing area. Authorities have been ordered to monitor construction sites and block existing windows. Taliban on Sunday threatened to close all national and foreign non-governmental groups in Afghanistan employing women. Taliban's economy ministry issued a letter warning NGOs against employing women. The letter stated that failure to comply would result in cancellation of organizations' operating license. It comes 2 years after they told NGOs to suspend the employment of Afghan women. Since August 2021, the Taliban have systematically dismantled women and girls' access to education in Afghanistan, enforcing increasingly dire restrictions. Girls were first banned from secondary schools in March 2022, followed by suspension from universities in December of the same year.
I was studying IT when the Taliban came to power and banned access to classes for women. After that, I was very disappointed. I isolated myself at home. Then I went for English classes, which were also banned by the Taliban.
It did not stop there. They even stopped women from attending institutions offering medical education.
We may not see the impact very quickly, but after 3-4 years, we will see the number of maternal mortality rate will go up and up, high and high.
Afghanistan now ranks among the world's countries with the highest rates of gender based violence. In 2023, data revealed that 28.7% of Afghan girls under 18 were married, including 9.6% under the age of 15. UN Women analysis showed that by 2026, the impact of leaving 1.1 million girls out of school and over 100,000 women out of university is correlated, with an increase in rate of early childbearing by 45% and an increased risk of maternal mortality by at least 50%. It was in July 2023 beauty salons were ordered to shut down as employment opportunities declined for women after Taliban authorities took power in 2021. Many Afghan women launched small businesses to meet their own needs and support other women. Malala Yousafzai, who is the youngest ever Nobel Peace Prize laureate, says Taliban does not represent the diversity of the country.
Islam does not prohibit a girl from learning. Islam does not prohibit a woman from working. I do hope that more Muslim countries and Muslim leaders come forward to challenge the Taliban.
The Taliban's latest directive underscores its commitment to rolling back women's rights in Afghanistan. With inputs from Fuzail Ahmed, Bureau Report, DD India.
5 people have been indicted in Argentina over the death of British singer Liam Payne, who fell from the Buenos Aires hotel balcony in October after consuming alcohol and drugs. 3 of the 5 were charged with manslaughter and other 2 with supplying the former One Direction pop star with illegal drugs. The latter two have been ordered to be taken into custody, but the others have been allowed to remain free. Payne died on October 16th after falling from the balcony of his third-floor room at Casas Hotel in the Argentine capital. Up next, we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. El Salvador authorities have confiscated a haul of 1.5 tons of cocaine valued at $37.5 million during a maritime operation of the country's coast. 2 men aboard an Ecuadorian-flagged speedboat were arrested and are set to face legal proceedings. Salvadoran Defense Minister Rene Merino reported that the seized narcotics were worth $37.5 million. In southern Mexico, hundreds of migrants waited in long queues outside an immigration office on Monday, hoping to secure safe passage to the north and enter the U.S. legally before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Trump plans to end President Joe Biden's humanitarian programs, known as CBP-1, to approach a port of entry and enter the U.S. legally. Hundreds of dog owners and their pets took to the streets of Madrid for the traditional San Perestre walk to raise funds in support of flood-affected shelters in Valencia, 2 months after the deadly floods in Spain's third biggest city. Animal protection group El Refugio usually organizes the annual festive dog version of the traditional year-end San Silvestre race to raise awareness against animal abuse and abandonment. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, the last sunrise of the year painted the sky with hues of tangerine and gold across the country. The national capital gears up to usher in New Year amidst advisory issued by the authorities to ensure law and order. North India to enter New Year 2025 with snow and cold wave conditions.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories now. ISRO launches SpaDeX mission. Successful separation of satellites marks another milestone in India's space journey. South Korean court approves arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon, facing a criminal investigation into possible insurrection charges. US Treasury Department has accused Chinese state-sponsored actor for a cyber breach earlier this month. Emotional homecoming for several ahead of New Year's Eve as Russia and Ukraine swap hundreds of prisoners in the UAE brokered deal. 5 years on, WHO implores China to share data on COVID origins, called it a moral and scientific imperative. As the world enters the final stage preparation to ring in 2025 with cheer and festivity. In a major milestone, the Indian Space Research Organisation ISRO launched its year-end mission PSLV-C60 carrying the Space Docking Experiment or SpaDeX from Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. Now, this historic mission aims to achieve the rare feat of docking two satellites in space. Just after 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time on Monday, PSLV-C60 rocket lifted from the first launch pad at Sriharikota and placed two small satellites, each weighing 220 kilograms, in the right orbit of 475 kilometer circular orbit. After over 15 minutes of flight, the first satellite separated 15.1 minutes after launch, followed by the second at 15.2 minutes.
Full sight to behold.
जी हाँ, अभी आपने देखा सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन.
Designed as a cost-effective technology demonstrator, SpaDeX will showcase rendezvous, docking and undocking of two small spacecraft in low Earth orbit, paving the way for advanced in-space operations.
I'm really happy to announce the successful accomplishment of the launch of PSLV-C60 for the SpaDeX mission. The rocket has placed the satellites in the right orbit, which is 475 kilometer circular orbit. SpaDeX two satellites are moved. You would have seen in the animation that they moved little one behind the other. So over the period of time, for the days, it will pick up further distance, travel to almost a 20 kilometer distance away.
ISRO is gearing up to achieve a significant milestone with geosynchronous launch vehicle mission scheduled in January, set to become the 100th launch from Sriharikota spaceport. Monday's PSLV-C60 mission was the 99th launch from Sriharikota, which successfully placed two spacecraft for conducting the space docking experiment in a circular orbit.
For us, this is the 99th launch of any launch vehicle from Satish Dhawan Space Center. So that's also a very important number. So we are going for the 100th launch in the beginning of next year. In this 99th launch, the PSLV, the Corellian configuration of the PSLV-C60, placed two SpaDeX satellites weighing 220 kilograms into a circular orbit of 475 kilometers.
Also talking to media, ISRO chairman said that the first stage of the PSLV will provide housekeeping support to payloads, with the process expected to complete soon.
Payloads, they are not satellites, they are going to be attached to the stage, conducting experiments for next 2 months. The upper stage of the PSLV will act as a spacecraft, providing all the housekeeping support for the payloads to operate. And that will be done in a lower orbit. That will be lower to 350 kilometer. And the process is currently going on, still not reached there. So tonight, in another, maybe in less than an hour, it will reach. After that, we will have many activities to continue. You heard that the SpaDeX will have many operations tomorrow onwards, arresting its motion and reaching the docking condition on possibly on 7th of January.
Changing track to other news, the Mahakumbh Mela 2025 is set to take place in the holy city of Prayagraj from January 13 to February 26. It is poised to reaffirm its status as the world's largest congregation of faith and spirituality. Different departments of the Uttar Pradesh government are racing against time to finish the preparations. For the past few months, an army of workers has been diligently channeling the rivers, widening the roads and levelling the ghats to transform the city in anticipation of one of the largest religious events in the world. The railways will run 3,000 special trains during the Mahakumbh 2025, out of which 560 trains will operate on ring rail. The 48-day festival will draw millions of devotees, saints and spiritual seekers in the Triveni Sangam, the sacred confluence of Ganga, Yamuna and mythical Saraswati rivers, where they will partake in rituals and seek spiritual blessings. North India is reeling under a severe cold wave. The Met Department has issued warnings for extreme cold and dense fog across parts of northwest and central India, with conditions expected to worsen in the coming days. According to the Met Department, some areas in Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir will experience a severe cold wave till 1st of January. The temperatures are expected to remain 3 to 5 degrees Celsius below the normal in these regions. With New Year's Day adding to the chill, dense to very dense fog is likely to remain in place till January 4th. Snowfall is expected to continue in Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. Heavy rainfall in the last 2 days has disrupted the normal life of the citizens and tourists. Rescue efforts continue for those stranded amidst the heavy snowfall after closure of the roads. TD India's Anil Thomas joins us with the latest. Anil, good morning. Get us, how has the morning begun in the national capital? We tell our viewers that North India will be ushering in 2025 with severe cold. You tell us, how is it outside today?
Well, good morning, Preeti. Well, it's a frosty morning. One may put it very simply. As I stand to do live, I can feel the jitters, right through my legs, and my hands are freezing. So that sums up the weather conditions very clearly, because it's not very easy. I think it's going to be a tough few days, especially till the 5th of Jan. The weather conditions are expected to be pretty, very much in a similar kind. Dense fog across. It's going to be a blanket cover across North India that you would see. It starts right from Jammu and Kashmir, where Srinagar, it's almost minus 10 degrees that's been recorded yesterday. So things not looking good, especially right from the top. Even if you go down till Maharashtra has seen a temperature drop of 2 to 4 degrees. So all in all, the weather conditions are pretty cold. It's lovely to sit back at home and enjoy the new year, usher in the new year. But having said that, the celebrations that come with New Year, people would love to come out in this weather. This weather, you need to be, pretty cautious, especially when it comes to what you wear, the gear that you hold on to, because the weather conditions, if you are out for long, could be troublesome for many, especially people suffering from respiratory problems. But the overall picture is it's going to be pretty tight, dense fog. Remember, the first half of the year, or the first half of December, we've seen strong winds that have flown. The second half has seen a bit of rain. So it's a mixture of both. The air quality index is pretty in a decent, phase, I would say, for the simple reason the December average is roughly around 294. 294. When you look at the box in which it would fall is poor. But having said that, it's the best that we've seen since this particular AQI, records have started in 2015. But this particular winter chill is something that's going to be remembered for long. And I think January will not offer anything new. At least the first week of January is going to continue with this kind of conditions, dense fog, and you will find it very difficult, especially, and frosty mornings, especially, and across the day you will have weather that's going to be pretty decent.
All right, this is about January, but then has Met Department come out with any word on how will the weather be in, say, in the next few days? You're talking of the first week of January, but then how long do we expect this winter chill, this frosty chill to continue?
Well, we've got predictions at least or forecast in the first week of January, but I think we're going to expect, or we're rather going to see this, this run for a pretty long time. At least January, things don't look pretty good as of now. According to the Met Department, January is going to be pretty tough, and I think we've seen the best and worst of what 2024 have seen, especially when it comes to the weather conditions. We've seen the best of 72 AQI that was hit in August, the worst of 451 that was hit on December 19th. So we are in the midst of between two, and an average that I mentioned for the month of December was 294, which looks pretty okay when it comes to air quality index. But the weather conditions is something that's going to be tough, especially for people in North India. And I think people in North India are more used to this kind of weather, especially in the month of December, January and February. I think we'll have to wait for almost January 15 to end for weather conditions to have a better feel. But before that, I don't see any kind of, breathing space that people in North India would get. Punjab could be very tough. Himachal is under a snow cover. You have Uttarakhand not looking good. The temperatures there okay, but the weather, the snow cover that many places have got has really left things pretty reeling and things pretty chilled for the people. So I think all in all, it's going to be till December 10th, December 15th, you don't have much of breathing space. The weather conditions could further deteriorate, but there could be no signs of improvement. The only good thing that the Met Department says, in the day you could get good sunshine. I think that's something that we all would look forward to come out and enjoy.
All right, Anil, we'll leave it here. Thanks so much for joining in with those details. And now we tell you how minorities in Bangladesh are facing increasing persecution under the interim government, with calls for India and international intervention from victims and their sympathizers. At the same time, India is also concerned about illegal Bangladeshi immigration. The Delhi police has an ongoing campaign to apprehend illegal Bangladeshi immigrants in the national capital. Tapas Bhattacharya gets us more.
India's immediate neighbor, Bangladesh, is in a state of turmoil, with rising fundamentalist elements trying to change the nature of the country and its past when it was formed in 1971. Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh face escalating persecution under the interim government. Since August 2024, judicial independence has eroded and systematic violence against minorities has surged. Experts warn of a looming humanitarian crisis, with calls for UN intervention and autonomous zones to protect vulnerable communities.
We demand immediate, decisive steps from global and Indian leadership to protect endangered Hindus, other religious minorities, indigenous people and tribal groups under the hostile and pro-jihadist illegal government in Bangladesh.
Immediate global action is being called for to safeguard religious and indigenous groups from growing violence under a regime accused of being pro-jihadist and anti-democratic.
Bangladesh is captured by jihadis, Bangladesh is captured by Jamaat-e-Islami and Hizbut Tahriris. So they are haters of Hindus. They don't like any minorities in Bangladesh. They come in power, they capture the Bangladesh, and they are torturing Hindus every single day. Hindus are living in fear.
Meanwhile, illegal Bangladeshi immigration is a matter of growing concern for India. The Delhi police launched a campaign to apprehend illegal Bangladeshi immigrants in India's capital, where 7 individuals were arrested and deported on Sunday. The raids were conducted in slums, labor camps, and unauthorized colonies. During a verification drive in the Kalindi Kunj area, Delhi police identified and nabbed the illegal immigrants. Last week, the police uncovered an illegal immigration racket, arresting 5 Bangladeshi nationals and 6 individuals involved in forging Aadhaar cards, voter IDs, and other documents to facilitate border crossings. With bureau inputs, Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
In connection with New Year Eve celebrations in India's national capital, Delhi's traffic police has made special arrangements to manage the expected large crowd. The following traffic restrictions and diversions will be implemented from 8 p.m. onwards on 31st of December, and it is applicable to both private and public transport vehicles. The force has also given instructions for commuters going out on New Year's Eve. They have been advised to use public transport to minimize congestion. The Delhi Police has urged all to park vehicles in designated parking areas to ensure smooth traffic flow. As the year's 2024's final dawn broke on Tuesday, the last sunrise of the year painted the sky with hues of tangerine and gold. Cities across India bathed in a warm, gentle light, as if nature itself reflected on the passing of time. The sun rose slowly, a burning amber on the horizon, casting shadows across the landscape. Sunrises are the moment of introspection more today, as it is time to bid farewell to the old year and welcome the promise of a new one. As the sun rises higher in the sky, it illuminates the possibilities and opportunities that lie ahead, filling our hearts with hope and our spirits with renewal. These moments remind us that every ending marks a new beginning. The last sunrise of the year symbolizes hope, renewal, and the promise of a fresh start. And now we take a quick look at the other stories making it to the headlines from across India. Rehearsals are in full swing ahead of India's Republic Day 2025. Defence personnel participated in full dress rehearsal at Kartavya Path in New Delhi. Celebrated on January 26, the Republic Day parade is a display of India's military prowess and rich culture. India gets its first glass bridge over sea in Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu on Monday. The newly inaugurated glass bridge spans 77 meters in length and 10 meters in width. Connecting the Vivekanand Rock Memorial to Thiruvalur statue, the bridge is set to become a landmark attraction. Known for their valor, Indian Army personnel patrolling in heavy snow at higher altitude in Jammu and Kashmir's Doordarshan sector near line of control. Despite the challenging weather conditions, the troops continue their duties to ensure security in the region. A quick break ahead, but still to come on DD India News Hour. Venezuela court finds TikTok over deadly challenges. India's Grandmaster R. Vaishali qualifies for the knockout stage of the World Blitz Championship 2024. Bumrah, Arshdeep, among others, nominated for ICC awards. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. Venezuela's top court on Monday fined TikTok $10 million for failing to prevent the spread of viral challenges that have harmed the minors. The Supreme Tribunal of Justice fined TikTok in connection with viral challenges that authorities say left 3 adolescents dead from intoxication by chemical substances. The court said that the money will be used to create a TikTok victims fund intended to compensate for the psychological, emotional and physical damages to users, especially if these users are children and adolescents.
TikTok is fined $10 million payable to the National Telecommunications Commission within 8 days for failing to implement necessary measures to stop the spread of content related to the viral challenges. TikTok is ordered to establish a representation with its office in the territory of Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, through which the company will supervise and control the application of technological tools in accordance with the constitutional and legal order of Venezuela in telecommunications and social networks. All this to enhance the security of users and preserve their physical, psychological, and emotional integrity.
The dollar was firm on the last day of the trading of the year, poised to clock strong gains in 2024 against most currencies as investors prepared for fewer US rate cuts and the incoming Trump administration's policies. The dollar's ascent, buoyed by rising treasury yields, has pushed the yen towards the lowest level since July, when the Japanese authorities last intervened. On Tuesday, it was at 157 per dollar, on course for a 10% drop in 2024, its fourth straight year of decline against the dollar. Japanese markets are closed for the rest of the week, and with most markets closed on Wednesday for the New Year's Day holiday, volumes are likely to be razor thin. Turkey imposed a 6% tax hike on fuel after its finance minister said over the weekend that tax moves on fuel and tobacco would not affect the government's inflation goal. The special consumption tax on fuel is adjusted every 6 months based on the producer price index, with the 5-month cumulative PPI since the last increase standing at 7.12%. The latest tax hike is below the index. Authorities will announce an update on the PPI on January 3rd, when it is widely expected to increase. Fuel taxes typically have a major impact on inflation. Let's turn focus to sports now. Grandmaster R. Vaishali has qualified for the knockout stage of the Women's World Blitz Championship 2024 after winning 8 of her first 10 matches in New York. Vaishali was the lone Indian to qualify for the second stage after newly crowned World Rapid Champion Kuneru Humpy missed out on the top 8, finishing in the 9th place. Barring China's Li Tingye, who finished second behind Vaishali, all other qualified players ended up with equal points as Humpy. However, Humpy had the worst tiebreak, which saw her finish just outside the qualification spot. India's fast bowlers Jasprit Bumrah and Arshdeep Singh, along with women's cricketers Smriti Mandhana and Shreyanka Patel, have been nominated for the ICC Awards 2024. Bumrah is in contention for 2 prestigious annual cricket awards. He has been nominated for Men's Cricketer of the Year and ICC Men's Test Cricketer of the Year. The 31-year-old fast bowler was instrumental in helping India win their second T20 World Cup earlier this year. Bumrah picked up 15 wickets from 8 matches. The 31-year-old pacer also took 71 wickets in 13 tests, which is the most by any bowler in 2024. Arshdeep Singh has been nominated for the ICC Men's T20 International Cricketer of the Year. He picked 36 wickets from 18 matches. Smriti Mandhana has been nominated for the ICC Women's ODI Cricketer of the Year. She has scored 747 runs. Shreyanka Patel has earned a nomination for the ICC Emerging Women's Cricketer of the Year. The off-spinner has picked 19 wickets across the formats. In tennis, Grand Slam winner Emma Raducanu has pulled out of the Auckland Open due to a back injury. Raducanu has struggled with injuries after winning her only Grand Slam title in 2021 and skipped 5 tournaments in the WTA's Asia Swing this year after suffering sprained ligaments in her foot. The 22-year-old also spent most of last season recovering from ankle and wrist surgeries. Seeded 6th, Raducanu was set to clash with America's Robin Montgomery in her opening match. The tournament also features former Grand Slam champions Naomi Osaka and Sofia Kenin. The curtains will close on the year 2024 on Tuesday. As the world prepares to welcome New Year 2025, people are bracing for the transition. Rio de Janeiro's iconic Copacabana beach was buzzing with activity on Monday as preparations for the world's largest New Year's Eve celebration were finalized. Workers completed the lighting setup on the main stage in the middle of the beach as people enjoyed the beach the day before the party. Authorities expect approximately 2.5 million attendees at Copacabana's extravagant New Year's Eve party, including locals and international visitors. In preparation for the New Year's Eve event at the Brandenburg Gate, foldable roadblocks, fences and security cameras were already lining the streets on Monday. Up to 65,000 people are expected to attend the stage program at the gate. And over 5,000 police officers from different areas in Germany will be present on the streets of the capital. In the U.S., New York City Mayor Eric Adams and Police Commissioner Jessica Tick spoke about the safety measures they were planning to implement during the New Year celebrations in Times Square on Tuesday. Roughly 1 million people will participate in the New Year's Eve celebrations, and many more will watch the transmission on television and online. Preparations are in full swing at Times Square and nearby areas. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.
I'm on a quest to explore the history of Goa,